Welcome to Catholic Shrine Basilica YouTube channel. Sanctuary of Our Lady of Rocio, Almonte, Province of Huelva, Andalusia, Spain. Introduction. The Hermitage of El Rocío, Spanish, Ermita del Rocío or Ermita de El Rocío, also known as Santuario de Nuestra Señora del Rocío, is a hermitage at El Rocío in the countryside of Almonte, Province of Huelva, Andalusia, Spain. The hermitage is home to the Virgin of El Rocío, Spanish, Virgen del Rocío, a small, much venerated carved wood statue, and is the destination of an annual procession/pilgrimage on the second day of the Pentecost, known as the Romería del Rocío, connected to the veneration of the Virgin of El Rocío. In recent years, the Romería has brought together roughly 1 million pilgrims each year. The pilgrimage dates from 1653, when the Virgin of Las Rosinas was appointed patron saint of Almonte. Originally it took place on 8th of September. Since 1758, the Virgin has been known as the Virgin of El Rocío, and the pilgrimage has taken place on the second day of Pentecost. Although there has been a hermitage on this site for centuries, the present hermitage building was designed by architects Antonio Delgado y Roche and Alberto Balbontin de Horta, designed in 1961 and built in stages over the next 2 decades. Perhaps the most spectacular romería is the one devoted to the Virgen del Rocío, popularly called El Rocío for short. Nearly 1.5 million people from all over Spain and Andalusia make the long journey to gather in the town of El Rocío. In the marshlands of the Guadalquivir River Delta, south of Almonte, close to Donana National Park, where the statue of the Madonna of the Dew has been worshipped since 1280. The pilgrims come on horseback and in gaily decorated covered wagons from all over the region, transforming the area into a colorful and noisy party. The climax of the festival is the weekend before Pentecost Monday. See dates in the early hours of the Monday the Virgen del Rocío is brought out of the church. This remarkable event, where all the hermandades, brotherhoods from different towns and cities, compete to carry the statue, is always shown live on television. History. The historical chronicles say that King Alfonso X of Castile, Alfonso the Wise, present on the site in 1270, ordered the construction of a hermitage dedicated to the Virgin Mary in the place then known as Las Rosinas, which had recently been reconquered from the Muslims who at that time still ruled much of southern Spain. The same chronicles say that attracted by the beauty of the area and its abundant deer, Alfonso established himself a hunting preserve there in 1269, first known as the Coto Real del Lomo del Grulo y Las Rosinas, which largely coincides with today's Donana National Park or Coto de Donana. The first hermitage of El Rocío was a simple mudéjar building constructed some time after Alfonso's 1270 command, and built no later than 1300. Juan Infante Galán Zambrano says 1270 to 1284, but also says that the first firm documentary evidence of the hermitage dates from 1337. The statue of Our Lady of El Rocío certainly dates back to this building, though its precise date and origin are a matter of some controversy. The original hermitage underwent repairs in 1612 to 1614, 1635, and 1658 and survived until the 1755 Lisbon earthquake, which left it a ruin. After the quake, the Virgin of El Rocío was brought into the village of Almonte, where it remained for 2 years while a second hermitage was built. This second hermitage was restored in 1919 under the supervision of José Luis de Cozar, but was demolished in 1963 to make way for the present structure. The present hermitage building was designed by architects Antonio Delgado y Roche and Alberto Balbontin de Horta. They presented their plan, in competition with 2 other proposals, in 1961. It was approved May 24, 1963. The statue of the Virgin was moved to Almonte June 16, 1963 in preparation for the demolition of the second hermitage, where demolition began in July. The cornerstone of the new building was laid January 26, 1964. A provisional chapel was constructed and in service 33 days later. Major construction continued until January 10, 1969, and after torrential rains prevented a planned benediction on 15 March, the benediction of the new hermitage took place April 12, 1969. However, even in 1969 the building was not complete in all respects, and some further construction, including the upper portion of the facade, continued until 1980, when the cross was placed atop the building. The cross itself, by Sebastián Conde, dates from 1692, and was previously associated with the Barrio Santa Cruz in Seville. Pope John Paul II visited El Rocío June 14, 1993. The Sanctuary. The area where the sanctuary and Aldea del Rocío are currently located has long been a privileged enclave given its geographical location, in a place of transit and crossroads between the roads that lead to Seville, Niebla, Maguer, Almonte and, crossing the river, to Sanlúcar de Barrameda. The current sanctuary dates from the 20th century and replaced the one built in the 18th century which, in turn, was erected in succession to the primitive Mudéjar temple. The work of Alberto Balbontin de Horta and Antonio Delgado Roch, the building falls under the so-called white regionalism whose main inspiration is the architect Juan Talavera y Heredia. The main building of the sanctuary, the Hermitage, is located near the marsh shore to which two of its doors open. The sanctuary presents a particular aspect. It is not an exempt building, but rather it is inserted in a group of buildings, in the manner of Andalusian farmhouses. It is a church with a basilica floor plan, with 3 naves, a transept and a main chapel. The central nave and the transept arms are covered with barrel vaults, illuminated by circular oculus with stained glass windows. The lateral ones have 2 floors, the ground floor with groin vaults and above it the gallery. Not counting the section of the atrium and high choir at the foot, the main nave consists of 4 sections, and 2 each of the arms. The intersection of the arms is covered with a dome on pendentives and a lantern with 4 windows and the phrase Ave Maria. The main chapel has an apsidal shape, with a semicircular floor plan and an oven vault. In the center is the space of the antechamber of the Virgin. To its right is the current Sagrario chapel, and to the left the ante-sacristy. Inside the sanctuary, housed in the central niche of the new Baroque altarpiece, is the Gothic image of the Virgen del Rocío, patron saint of Almonte and, at the same time, one of the main reference, at a symbolic and identity level, of Andalusia. In the side chapels and in the rest of the rooms, the litters where the image is carried during the rituals and the Virgin's trousseau are preserved. Outside, the building translates the interior distribution of space into clear volumes. The Latin cross shape, with the roof at different heights, creates a staggering of volumes. The intermediate spaces and the facade are surrounded by the memorabilia rooms, the chapel of candles in the lower part, and a balcony on the upper floor. In the opposite angle, a viewpoint tower rises, which corresponds to the house of the Mother Brotherhood. The facade in the form of a large shell stands out, on which the belfry rises, with 2 bodies, with 3 openings. The 4 bells it has bear the names of El Salvador, Blanca Paloma, Lirio de los Marismas and San Jose. Architecture. Architect, Antonio Delgado y Roch and Alberto Balbontin de Horta. The Romería as such begins on Sunday before Pentecost. However, pilgrims come from throughout Andalusia, and, nowadays, from throughout Spain and beyond, and typically travel an additional 1 to 7 days beforehand, either on foot, on horseback or in horse-drawn carriages, or, nowadays, in some cases, modern modes of transport such as all-terrain vehicles, generally sleeping outdoors. Many count this travel as the most important part of the pilgrimage. The pilgrims travel in groups known as religious confraternities. They come from many directions: the Camino de los Llanos, Plains Way, from Almonte proper, the Maguer Way, from Maguer and Huelva, the Sanlúcar Way from Cádiz, crossing the river Guadalquivir at El Bajo de Guia, and the Seville Way. The pilgrimage proper begins at noon on the Saturday. From then until nearly midnight, each confraternity travels from their property in the village of El Rocío to the sanctuary where they present their simplicado, their copy of the Virgin, the oldest confraternities proceeding first. Each bears an emblem of the Virgen del Rocío, Holy Mother. At midnight, it is the turn of the original confraternity to carry their emblem to the shrine. This is known as the Almonte Rosary Ceremony. At 10 a.m. on Whitsun Sunday, a pontifical high mass is said in El Real del Rocío, next to the sanctuary, where the Virgin was crowned in 1919. On Sunday night, everyone prays the Rosary by candlelight, as each confraternity goes up to the flat of El Eucaliptal next to El Real del Rocío. Finally, the Immaculate Conception emblem of Almonte is brought to the shrine, at which point the Almontes carry the Virgin of El Rocío out into the village streets. The timing of this event differs from one year to the next, so there is always a certain element of spontaneity to it. Our Lady of Rocío, Our Lady of Dew, the Virgin of El Rocío, also known as Madonna of El Rocío or Our Lady of El Rocío, Spanish, Virgen del Rocío, Nuestra Señora del Rocío, also, formerly, Nuestra Señora de los Remedios or Santa María de las Rosinas, is a small carved wooden statue of the Virgin and Child, of which the only carved parts are the face, hands, and the Christ Child, which is venerated at the Hermitage of El Rocío, Almonte, province of Huelva, Spain. The associated annual procession/pilgrimage, known as the Romería del Rocío, draws roughly 1 million people each year. Although the present Hermitage of El Rocío dates only from the second half of the 20th century, there has been a hermitage on this site since the late 13th, or possibly early 14th, century. The statue of Our Lady of El Rocío certainly dates back to the first of these hermitages, though its precise date and origin are a matter of some controversy. The statue predates its garments. The Virgin was declared the patron saint of Almonte June 29, 1653, and received canonical coronation in 1919. Pope John Paul II visited El Rocío and the Virgin June 14, 1993. Appearance. The original statue was roughly 1 meter, 3.3 feet, high, although its garments and the superstructure that support them bring the total height to 156 centimeters, 5.12 feet. It is a carved and painted wooden statue of the Virgin and Child, richly dressed in Baroque style. The eyes on the face look downward. According to Jesus Abadis, it is made of birch wood. On the back of the sculpture is the legend Nuestra Señora de los Remedios, Our Lady of Remedies, believed to be the original name of the statue, before it became known in the 15th century as Santa María de las Rosinas, later del Rocío. The statue is not realistic, rather, it is abstract and theological. Mary is represented specifically in her role as the mother of Jesus, her eyes looking down toward the child, contemplative. Garments. The Virgin's garments do not date back as far as the statue itself. The tradition of dressing such devotional images dates largely from the late 16th and early 17th century. There is documentary evidence of garments for the Virgin as early as 1631, though those would not be the same garments as those used today. Indeed, some changes to the Virgin's garments can be specifically documented. For example, the present cloak dates only from 1952. Origin and modifications. Many scholars have expressed views on the date and authorship of the Virgin of El Rocío, but without reaching any clear consensus. José Alonso Morgado y Alonso, who gave the first rigorously scholarly description of the statue in 1882, believed it to be a 13th century work, with important modifications in the early 15th century that gave it a Gothic aspect. According to Morgado, it was further modified in the 17th century when it was richly garbed in the Baroque style of the era. José María Vázquez Soto, writing in 1997, essentially endorsed this view, although he believes hath at the close date from the 18th century, based on their style. Civilian historian Jesus López Alfonso also believes that the figure dated from the second half of the 13th century. Juan Infante Galán Zambrano related the statue to a saint and venerated in a church in Triana, which would also match this date. The painter Santiago Martínez, writing in 1949, believed that the face was the original, and that the original work is generally well preserved from the waist down. However, according to Martínez, other than the face, the upper half was significantly altered to add the clothing and the figure of the Christ child. Historians Juan Miguel González Gómez and Manuel Jesus Carrasco Teresa, both from Huelva and the latter the designer of the current altarpiece of the Hermitage, date the original statue between 1280 and 1335. According to González and Carrasco, the statue is of French origin. They further write that the custom of dressing the statue, though possibly not in its present garb, must date back at least to 1605, based on a drawing from that date. They date this custom from the late 16th or very early 17th century. Further, they date the hands, the Christ child, and the downcast eyes of the Virgin from roughly the same time as the clothes. Several recent scholars have pointed to strong stylistic resemblances to the work of Jorge Fernández Alemán, late 15th and early 16th century, or of the Flemish sculptor Roque Baldic, mid-16th century. Jesus Abadís largely endorses the views of González and Carrasco. In his view, the Virgin of El Rocío is originally French or Central European. He agrees that it is mutilated from the waist up, with a framework for its garments replacing parts of the original. Following José María Fernández, he dates the subsidiary figure of the Christ child to the 18th century. He considers it likely that the statue underwent significant restoration in the early 16th century, which would be consistent with the theory of involvement by Fernández Alemán. Feast Day, El Rocío Pilgrimage Festival. A small village of 1,000 residents comes to life with 1 million of flamboyant pilgrims and their frantic celebration of the Virgin of El Rocío. It seems like every town and village in Andalusia has some pilgrimage site, but no other is similar to El Rocío, about 80 kilometers from Seville, known as Romería del Rocío, also called El Rocío Festival. This small hamlet, not even a village, situated within the municipality of Almonte in the province of Huelva, around 80 kilometers away from Seville, counts about 1,000 permanent residents. Once a year on the weekend before Pentecost Monday, the 50th day after Easter Sunday, its normally deserted sandy streets get packed with 1 million of pilgrims from Europe and Asia who come for El Rocío pilgrimage. They come for the cult religious celebration of the Virgin of El Rocío. This vibrant pilgrimage is definitely something unique to behold. Female pilgrims are wearing flamenco-styled dresses, males, wide-brimmed boleros, riding jackets and traje corto. Many are riding horses, while others move on colorful carriages. Everybody is chanting, dancing, beating drums, playing the flutes, tambourines, and guitars, and shouting Viva la Reina de la Marisima, which means long live the Queen of the Marshland. Firecrackers complement the whole thing. Yet the climax of such a passionate procession is yet to come. Early Monday morning, when the pilgrimage has finally reached the shrine of Sanctuario de Nuestra Señora de El Rocío or simply Ermita, the idol is brought out of the church to be paraded through the streets. It's essential that the representatives of all 95 brotherhoods carry the statue of the Virgin, so everyone is agitated to be the first, nearly fanatic. That's a kind of a miracle that the statue has survived centuries. In fact, the legend says it was found in a tree trunk around the contemporary Danana National Park back in 15th century by a local hunter from the village of Villamanrique. The figurine of the Virgin cured various diseases including infertility and mental disorders, and soon locals constructed the church nearby in honor of the Virgin. More and more people pilgrimed to the shrine, and the tradition of Pentecost Monday pilgrimages began in 1758. At first it was just local, but soon became widespread in other regions of Spain, and abroad. The 50th day after Easter Sunday normally falls either on late May or early June. The most common start points of the pilgrimage are Seville, Almonte, Huelva and also Villamanrique de la Condesa. Mass time. Mass schedule in winter. Thursdays, 6 p.m. Saturdays, 7 p.m. Sundays, 10 a.m. 12 o'clock, noon. Mass schedule in summer. Weekdays, 9 p.m. Sundays, 9:30 a.m. 11 a.m. Church visiting time. Every day's open daily from dawn until dark. Contact info. Address: Sanctuary of Our Lady of Rocio, 21750 El Rocío, Almonte, Province of Huelva, Andalusia, Spain. Website www.hermandadmatresrocio.org. How to reach the sanctuary. Aeródromo de Niebla Airport in Huelva, Spain is the nearby airport to the sanctuary. La Palma del Condado train station in Huelva, Spain is the nearby train station to the sanctuary. If you wish to know more about Catholic shrine basilicas, Marian shrines and Marian apparitions, subscribe to our Catholic Shrine Basilica YouTube channel. Like and share with your loved ones. For more churches website www.catholicshrinebasilica.com.